times in my life when I feel so alone, even surrounded with people. It's like I'm on my own, and then I think of you, and now you once came along, and you've been a real friend, and you made me feel strong. Time goes by, won't drift us apart. We will always be friends like we were at the start. And I know when I call you will understand, and I know when I need you, you will stand by me. Won't you stand by me? Won't you stand? Whoa, stand by me. Won't you stand? Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. By me, won't you stand? Stand by me, stand by me, stand by me, stand by me.
Out of everything that's on the internet, this is the best thing.
All right, people, says today we've got an actual bona fide nuclear physicist on the show.
Blows my mind every time.
Now, this isn't just somebody who's Googled is the Earth round and called it a day. This is somebody who deals with the universe on a scale that makes your average conspiracy theory, like the flat Earth, look like a child's crayon drawing. We're going to dive into just how monumentally, hilariously, and insanely wrong the flat Earth model is, all from the perspective of someone who literally deals with the physics of reality every single day. So get ready for a healthy dose of reality so potent it might just irradiate some of that social stupidity right out of your system. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I give you Heinrich, the real nuclear physicist.
Shut up and sit down, you big bald f***.
Please subscribe. Good evening, everybody. Even though I just said it in the pre-recorded, it was pre-recorded. I'm not that fast. And I forgot to put my hat on. Well, actually, I've been wearing a hat in my last few videos because I just couldn't be asked to shave my head. And I had the old man sort of, you know, nothing on top, all going on in the back and side. So you always know when I haven't shaved my head because I've got a hat on. Good evening, Heinrich. How are
Hi,
you,
Creaky.
pal?
Well, thanks, and you?
Yeah, good, mate. First of all, thank you for coming on. I'm hoping this will be a really interesting conversation. First of all, what does a nuclear physicist do? What's it all about?
So I started, my undergrad was in radiation sciences, and then so in South Africa, we do a postgraduate diploma. We call it an honors degree. So it's like an additional year that you study, and it makes more specialized, but it's not just yet the master's. So then I did that in medical physics. So I'm formally trained as a medical physicist, which is the radiation side of anything in medicine. So that goes from X-rays to cancer radiation to your run-of-the-mill X-ray that you get at the dentist, all of that. But as a whole, nuclear physics. So my favorite subject was atomic physics, which is the largest subject we have as nuclear physicists. Yeah. So that goes on with everything. So from radioactive decay to measuring, so carbon-14 decay and stuff like that for radiometric dating. So nuclear physics basically goes from that all the way into the medical field, into even, so you can see I'm an avid Formula One lover. Yeah. So there's even in the Formula One field, they've got large CT and X-ray scanners to check for imperfections on their bodywork and stuff like that. So nuclear physics is really, there's very little throughout the entire world that does not get affected by nuclear physics. And a lot of people then think nuclear physics is just the scary radiation, so gamma rays and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But it
Yeah.
also comes from communication, your microwave that you have in your kitchen, everything from there straight through to the scary stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a very, very broad field to work in.
Yeah, because I sort of looked up earlier on, did a little bit of reading about kind of what nuclear physics is, and the part that stuck out to me and seems the most applicable to what we both do on YouTube is the fact that nuclear physics deals with things on the atomic level, and everything in existence is
Atoms.
yeah,
Yeah,
basically everything is made up of atoms, and so
exactly.
basically nuclear physics is the study of anything, literally.
Everything.
Anything and
Yes.
everything.
Yeah, yeah. Would
Yeah,
that be
and I must
accurate to
say,
say?
um, now I can't remember what I. Oh yeah, so what I did this one video on my channel with like quantum tunneling. So a lot
Yeah,
of people think quantum mechanics and stuff is very theoretical, so it's stuff that you can only write about and never experience. On an atomic level, that's stuff that actually happens. So without
yeah,
it, we won't have stuff like alpha decay, and which just can't happen. So that makes more sense. And
yeah,
then even time dilation and length contraction, which happens daily, not just to our GPS satellites, but to muons reaching the Earth's surface, which is another particle that just gets to the Earth's surface, but shouldn't, because it should decay before it gets to us. But
yeah.
because of length contraction and time dilation, just gets to us.
So you mentioned earlier carbon-14. Um, whenever I hear anybody say carbon-14, it makes me think of creationists. It just does. Um, so as somebody that has studied that sort of thing, can you explain to us, or to me specifically, um, when somebody like Matt Powell and I've read about it and I've said these things in videos, but I've got the memory span of a senile goldfish. So when Matt Powell says, yeah, but there's carbon-14 and it shouldn't be. What, as a nuclear physicist who's got an in-depth understanding of carbon-14, what do you think his argument is?
So it's probably, I know I can't remember, I think it's Mount St. Helena, if I remember they usually refer to that where carbon-14 dating put it to like 100,000 years and it should be 30 years and stuff like that. I think that's mainly their focus, but the big thing about carbon-14 is it's in most of our diets. And so anytime you eat a plant, that plant has 9 out of 10 times carbon-14 in it, gets
Right.
into your bloodstream, it gets absorbed into your bones. When you die, you don't take carbon-14 in anymore. So it starts to decay. There's no replenishment of that constant rate of carbon-14 entering the body. Now, what they usually refer to is carbon-14 can only be dated, I think, up to 50,000 years, if I remember.
Yeah.
So it's not very accurate over larger time spans, but we've
Right.
got potassium zircon dating. We've got lead, I think it's lead argon dating. There's other types of radiometric dating that really does work over longer periods of time. And
So is it a case of then they've sort of adopted the phrase carbon-14 as a sort of a buzzword because
yes,
they've sort of shared the most basic explanation of what carbon-14 is and what it does and
yeah,
where it should and shouldn't be, and they just kind of hope that everybody else in the world that disagrees with them doesn't realize that the internet exists, and more importantly, people like you who
people
actually
study.
understand this
Yeah,
stuff.
I think what they heard carbon-14 dating and then heard radiometric dating and then assumed anytime someone says radiometric dating, it's carbon-14 dating, which isn't necessarily the case, because not all radiometric datings are carbon-14. Whereas yes, carbon-14 is radiometric dating, but that does not mean that all types of radiometric dating is carbon-14.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and
Like, for
that's
instance,
what I mean is have they
yeah,
sort of
they've
made it that
just put
narrow?
everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
Yeah.
whereas there are lots of different, parts to how carbon dating works, they've just focused on the one that they think proves their point, not
That's their narrative.
reality's point. Yeah,
Yes.
that's very
Yeah.
interesting, and I suspect that would be applicable to well, I don't suspect it, I know for a fact that that can be applied to flat earthers because the 8 inches per mile squared is the
Yes.
best example I can think of because, yeah, that is right, but only over small distances. Once you get
Yes.
beyond I can't remember the number, but there's sort of a, it
Yeah.
works between a meter and, I don't know, 10 kilometers, but anything beyond that, then you have to start using the real equation
Yeah, which
for
has a cosine in it, and you work with the radians between
yeah,
you and your point. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
exactly that. And
yeah,
even I think also most people get the confusion between carbon-14 dating having a half-life of like 10,000 years and something like uranium or very more radioactive stuff, which has millions of years of half-lives. And then
yeah,
they confuse those two. And what happens is in the hot labs in the hospitals where they physically make radioisotopes for you to either get a not a CT scan for the thyroid. Now I can't remember the term. But in nuclear medicine, we physically make the radioisotopes in the hospital. And we don't
right,
make something that has a half-life of 10,000 years because it won't be useful to us. Half-lives in the hospital that we work with is in the order of hours to weeks to maybe months. And
yeah,
then it has decayed.
right, right. So, yeah, so it's taking a complicated thing and simplifying it to the point where it doesn't even really mean the same as it actually does, if that makes any sense. Let me just
Yeah,
very quickly do something, Heinrich, before we carry on.
no problem.
Rolf, what's this? I gotta put the big screen on. Rolf Halm has gifted 5 channel memberships. Thank you, Rolf. Very much appreciated. And apparently they get handed out at the discretion of the YouTube overlords. There's no rhyme or reason to it as far as I can understand. But yeah. So the fact that you're a nuclear scientist, you're a highly educated man. So when I hear a flat earther say something which I know is wrong, um, and you could literally pick any flat earth argument, and I know it's wrong, but that's where my knowledge of it used to end until I learned all the reasons by repeating them 10,000 times over. But for somebody like you, somebody who is highly educated, specifically in the science of physics, what's it like for you when you hear a flat earth? When you hear Mikey Smith say that the moon is less than 100 miles away?
So, well, first of all, Mikey Smith, like I've mentioned a few times, it really seems like anytime he puts out a video, he's had some of the devil's letters. So
Yeah.
he really looks like on another planet. But
Yeah.
it baffles me sometimes about just I wouldn't even say pure stupidity, the pure ignorance in the fact that I don't know what it is, but it's definitely you don't know. You are definitely not right. But I don't know what it is, so I'm right. It's
Yeah.
the arrogance and it's the scientific facts. I've made my peace with that a long time ago because I've been watching you and Simon Dan since you basically started your channel like in COVID.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so I've been watching you guys, and it really baffles me just the pure arrogance that these people have.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the most common characteristic between all of them is probably a distrust in authority. So I
Yeah.
cannot see any of them ever even applying for a degree or
So
applying just to see what else is out there.
yeah.
Because if I apply for a degree, it's the man. The man is going to tell me what to do.
The funny thing is, though, I wonder how many of these flat earthers, because I agree with you 100%, a huge factor in their belief in a flat earth is not trusting anybody in any sort of position of authority, whether that's government people, doctors, lawyer, anybody that could potentially hold a position of authority over them is wrong and a liar. But I wonder, would they
Except
feel
when they
that
agree.
same way if they had to go and see a doctor, then got diagnosed with cancer, we'll say, and then needed to be referred to other doctors to help them treat that. W-
Yeah, or have
would
to
they
get
trust those people
radiation
enough?
treatment.
Yeah,
If they had to get radiation treatment,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
and
exactly.
then
That's
now
one
you are
thing that
right.
Yeah, that's one thing that puzzles me as well is the fact that they've all got this distrust, and some of them have even got like a distrust in technology, it would seem. But they're all
Yeah.
using the technology that they say is, I can't think of
Yeah.
an example of
So
a stupid thing they
my
say.
final year was during 2020, so that was my final undergraduate year.
Yeah,
And my end of year paper that I had to do for my one physics subject was on the dangers of 5G, because it was in that time, since it was 2020, and everybody was saying 5G caused COVID and 5G is going to kill you and 5G this and 5G that. I'm pretty sure half of them now use their phones on a daily
mhm,
basis with 5G enabled without even thinking about it twice.
yeah, yeah. Carl, go onto the YouTube chat, find Brian Pop Robson's name, click the three dots. He should be an advanced moderator.
Add as moderator, I got it.
Like super moderator, Brian is.
Managing moderator.
Yeah, that's it. He's a super moderator. Well, if you can wake him up in time for the live stream, see?
Yeah, there
It's
we go.
because Brian's even older than me. Right. So sorry, Heinrich. Like I say,
No, no
it's
problem.
live.
Yeah.
Issues need to be sorted out as they come in. Yeah, but I've often wondered that what it must be like for somebody who's devoted so much of their life to learning about
Yeah.
these things to have somebody just completely shit on the entire field of nuclear
And
physics.
one thing that most of the, well, not even flat earthers, conspiracy theorists as a whole get wrong is they say that when you are studying, they tell you what you should do, and they are just feeding you information, and that's the only
Mm,
correct information.
yeah.
We had more practical sessions than we had physical face-to-face lectures. And it's
Yeah.
not practical sessions where they tell you, okay, so now you will measure this, and this is what the result will mean. It's
Yeah.
a practical session where they give you the equipment and say, I want you to calculate the speed of light, without saying that this is what it should be or this is what it should not be. Tell you that this is the equipment. Calculate the mass of an electron. We did electron diffraction um, in one of the practical sessions. That was the most amazing thing for me, because learning about wave particle duality versus seeing the particles actually diffract in front of your eyes is two completely different things. And it's
Yeah.
in that point where you actually realize what is going on and you make the conclusions for yourself.
Mm. Based on the evidence you've been presented
Yes.
with. In this case, seeing it with your own eyes, or as close to
Seeing it,
seeing
it's
it as
literally
your own with
seeing
your
it
own
with
eyes.
your own
Yeah, you
eyes.
know what I mean. Yeah, yeah. But no, it's always that has always been of interest to me because, like I say, I know when they're saying so in the beginning, for example, like very very early on in my YouTube journey, with a flat Earth. See, when I first decided to make a flat Earth video, I couldn't even wrap my head around how they would explain day and night because if the Earth was flat, it would just be daytime for
I,
everybody
s-
all the time.
I still can't wrap my head around it, because now I know they say it's a local and it's like a torch, but if
Yeah,
I sit in this room and I shine a torch without shining it directly to me, I can still see the sides of the torch
yeah,
emitting light towards me.
yeah,
So it still doesn't make sense. And then
yeah.
they've got the coffee cup. What does Flatswood call it? The coffee cup caustic or something, where it's the sun is now on the outside of the rim, causing the 24-hour sunlight in Antarctica, which makes even less sense because now, yes, now you need to show there's 24 hours in Antarctica, but now you need to show there's actually a rim protruding to cause this 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
The thing is, from my perspective, certainly they're just trying to reverse engineer an explanation that supports the Earth being flat and there being a 24-hour sun in the south. But they're never going to be able to do that because there isn't. And that's another thing that I find funny and interesting about flat earthers is the fact that we'll use the 24-hour sun because it's a current example. We knew that was going to happen because it happened last year and the year before and the decade before and so on and so forth. So we didn't have to think about this. We didn't have to look for an explanation as to what causes there to be we just already know because of very smart people who have come before us. But every time a flat earther wants to do something that we can really easily do, it takes what seems like months and months of reverse engineering and model building and standing on one leg chanting and they still can't explain these things. Surely any half sensible human being would realize that that's just they've got nothing.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I do agree. It's been really boggling. It's mind-boggling. So I had a lady who worked with me. She used to like this word, mind-boggling. It truly is mind-boggling that flat earthers can still be in the space of I am right because I can see with my eyes it looks flat. But we are in a point where there's literally footsteps on the moon. But then again, the moon isn't real. So
yeah, exactly. And CC is a good example for me. He's one of the space is fake guys, isn't he? But he references things like celestial objects. Well, if space is fake, there's no celestial objects. In fact, there'd also be no Earth, even if it was flat. Because even if it was flat, it would still need to be somewhere.
Yes, but he's probably one of the infinite plane perpetuators, which is even more silly than space pizza, because an infinite plane, with physics that we know today and the theory of gravity, an infinite plane would not.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Though the fact that you just air quoted theory, which is something I do as well, and I'm guessing we do it for the same reason because flat earthers hear the word theory and they think, oh, I've got this theory that in 4 seconds' time the plant is going to fall off my desk.
Yeah,
but the theory of gravity isn't. We're not sort of estimating, we're not guessing.
And
in science, theory doesn't mean it's just a passing thought.
Yeah, so in science, you've got an idea. And then from your idea, you make a hypothesis. Or actually, you've got an idea, and from your idea, you make an investigative question. So this is my idea, and this is how I will test it, and this is what I want to test. And then from that, you get your hypothesis, which is what you think will happen when you test it. And then if you do the test enough times and you can show that this is a law, so we try to move away from the word law because people think that law means it cannot be broken. So like Newton's first, second, and third law is technically also just theories because they only work at low speeds in low gravitational fields. When you move to relativistic speeds to greater gravitational fields, then you have to go to Einstein's equation. And the nice thing is when you use Einstein's equations with low gravity fields, low velocities, it breaks down to Newton's equations. But that's just the thing. So there's no such thing as a set in stone law in physics. There is our theory of what it should be. and it will remain a theory until it is proven to be something else.
Yeah.
It will never be a theory and then become a law, a fact. That is the way it will always be, because we can't test in every or any outreaches of the universe. We don't have that capabilities. So we can theorize at what might happen there until we test it. So in that sense, a theory is technically the highest factuality that you can have in science.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the closest thing to being a bona fide 100% confirmed fact, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But flat earthers just do what they do with a lot of other things and just misapply the word theory.
Yeah. So it's theory because they are used to theory in the sense that you're taught in school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you theorize and this is what you think will happen, which in reality then becomes your hypothesis.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But I doubt most of them can even spell hypothesis. Ooh.
That's what
Robert Charlton wants to know, is that the same Brian Pop Robson that played football for Sunderland? Right? Would you like to answer that one? Evening, Ark. How are you, pal? Nice to see you. So, what made you decide to start the channel and start dismantling flat earthers?
So my idea, I started with the channel in like 2020, and it was supposed to be a gaming channel. So I do play, I'm an avid gamer as well. And at that stage it was with it gaming. So that was the main idea, and I never really got around to it because then studies took over again after COVID and nothing really came from it. And then I told my wife, listen, I think I want to, because then I started to really, this is my passion. Seems my camera froze.
Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah, I think you're back.
Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah.
Carry on, pal.
Sorry. So, and then I said, because this really, one of the things that really drives me with everything that I do is the mistrust and distrust that there is in science, to show people that science is not something that you need to be afraid of. Because me growing up, I was always passionate about science, and it's always something that has had a special place in my heart, and being able to study it really, it's like the top of my life that I could do that.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where I saw how many people out there really just think scientists are lying, and they spend their time in a lab trying to fool everyone. And that really like ignited.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. And I told my wife, this was in 2023. And I told my wife, so listen, I think I want to do this. And she was like, go for it. I'm yeah, you can do it. So then I started doing it beginning of last year in my free time. So starting, my first video came out in January. So that was like my New Year's goal, to get my YouTube channel up and running and reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of 24, which I did.
And what are you sat on now?
1,100 almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because whenever I come across a channel like you, it baffles me why I've got 100,000 or 105,000, and somebody like you who intimately knows the science behind proving that flat earthers are just dumbasses hasn't sort of caught up and overtaken me, because the information you provide, I would quite confidently guarantee is thought of as more accurate than any information I provide.
Yeah, that's one of the mysteries of the universe. But
yeah, it's a strange one.
Yeah, I'm doing the channels. I'm pretty sure if I do more regularly, because I don't have a set schedule. I do when I have free time, and with my PC that broke in like April, I had so I couldn't do anything. So, but I do it in my free time, and I do it because I like it. It's really fun. It's fun to see what people can come up with. It's fun to see what crazy ideas is out there. One of my favorite ideas by far has been, what's his name, Terrence Howard, with his 1 times 1 is 2, and because that is So the fact that 1 times 1 is not 2 is used daily in the field of physics because there's something called the inverse square law with radiation, which means if you are a meter away, you have to divide it by the square of a meter, which remains 1, and not 1.44, whatever square root of 2 is. Which that really baffles me that people can go to those type of lengths and send your paper to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, and somebody so high profile as well, because basically what he's saying by saying that 1 times 1 equals 2 is that you and every other physicist that uses the equation you just mentioned in nuclear physics is a liar, or you're all collectively wrong and he's right.
Yeah, and not just that. So it's even the field of mathematics, everything that works in mathematics should then also be wrong. And to take that on yourself, I wouldn't say dumb, but overconfident.
Because basically what flat earthers are saying, and general conspiracy theorists, people, as we said earlier, have a distrust or mistrust for anyone in authority. So we'll make this work to you. So you've studied, you're qualified, you've got the certificates, the letters after your name and everything. You're a bona fide nuclear physicist. So for flat earthers to be right, that means you have been lying to me about what nuclear physics is.
I've been lying to myself.
Your lecturers, the guys that taught you what you know, were lied to by their lecturers, and then those lecturers were lied to by their lecturer, and so on and so forth.
All the way back to like,
so was anyone ever right? Like ever in history? Or did one guy, Mr. John P. Physics, the guy who invented do you know what I mean? I'm trying to make it sound as ridiculous as flat earthers make it sound. You know, he just made it up for a laugh. Physics. Yeah, he just made it up for a laugh and passed it on. And now every time somebody spends, I don't know, the best part of 10 years studying physics to the highest levels, that it doesn't matter anyway, because John P. Physics lied 2 trillion years ago.
On the basis of the 1 times 1 equals 2, you can even practically test it with Pythagoras, like the Pythagorean theorem, because it works for every single set of numbers. Then it would not work for 1, because then it would be a triangle, a right angle triangle with 2 sides, 1 each, and then the hypotenuse being, so if 1 times 1 is 2, so the hypotenuse would be 2 instead of square root 2.
Right. So for Terence Howard to be right again, all of mathematics would have needed to
should have been
wrong in the same way.
Exactly. It's exactly that. So it's not just the basis of physics. It's everything we know. Technically should be then wrong.
Yeah. So, but do you think that and we'll stay on the Terence Howard train for a minute, because I can see Callum getting excited about the clips already. I forgot what I was going to say now. Let's ruin that clip for you, isn't it? Terence Howard being high profile. No, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. So, sing a song or something, Heinrich. Yeah, but no, hang on. So he basically, all of mathematics would have had to have been wrong. And I've completely lost my train of thought now. I've blown it. Absolutely blown it. Right. Let's see what Kathleen McCory is saying. Terence Howard said what? Yeah, I thought everybody knew about this. This was a highly publicized thing. Didn't he actually go to Oxford, or was it Harvard?
I think it's Harvard.
Is it Harvard? Is it? I knew he had gone to a university.
Yeah, I think it's Harvard, but I think it's on the Professor Dave Explains video where he went, and then like his Harvard degree isn't even in the direction of like maths or physics or something.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So somebody like Terence Howard making this extraordinary claim and then presenting that is findings to an educational institution like Harvard, I just, what did he think was going to happen? Did he honestly think that everybody could have been getting it wrong all this time? I just don't get that mentality.
Yeah, it's pure arrogance. And
Yeah.
so there's nothing to show that there has never been anything to show that 1 times 1 is 2. It's been established since probably the dawn of man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's no physical way to show it. There's no way on paper you can do a calculation to show it. Sure, there are these false proofs that show 1 is equal to 2 or 1 is equal to 0 and stuff like that. But that's just clever mathematics sleight of hand. It's where they just quickly do an operation that's illegal, but you don't always realize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think probably what happened is somebody did that to Terence, and then he was like, maths is wrong.
Because he's obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously because I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question. But he doesn't sound like a stupid man. He doesn't sound that type. He's articulate. Did he seem smart to you while being wrong?
So he uses clever words. So it's a clever words tactic, but it's just clever words that if you put them together to the average person sounds extremely smart. But when you actually know what you are doing, it's nonsense. It doesn't mean anything. It's like saying, my salad shoe went to the harbor. And then it's like...
So it's basically the same thing Eric Dubay does. He uses, because Eric is very articulate. There's no getting away from that.
No, he's got a very good vocabulary.
I would imagine that that's why so many people lap up the things he says, because he does sound, he doesn't sound like a stupid person. And, that's what I mean about Terence, how when I watched it, I already knew he was wrong, but he didn't sound, he didn't sound like he was explaining something that wasn't a possibility, if that makes sense, even though I already knew it wasn't. Do you know what I mean? That kind of...
If you didn't have the background, then you could be persuaded to like, but wait, let's think about this.
If somebody was on the fence type of thing, because that's one thing I was always very cautious of in the early days of my channel. Not so much now, but probably it should be more now, is making sure that everything I shared was as accurate as I could possibly make it, because the last thing I would need is to be having mistakes in the data I share or the experimental results, whatever, because then if I was getting that stuff wrong, then that would make me no better than flat earthers, and I'd have no place. In fact, it would be incredibly arrogant of me to make fun of these people and correct them if I was getting it wrong all the time myself. Now, I've made mistakes, but
I'm sure I have done as well.
It's very easily done.
Yeah, and also even in the early days when I started last year, the way I started was no script, just press play on the video and hit record and react immediately to what they say with what I know. So no research, nothing. And then I realized, but I should probably get not a script, but keywords just to have a look at and to make sure that if I say light is 3 times 10 to the 8 meters per second speed, that is correct. So not just sitting there and thinking I'm correct, because if you that's what the flat earthers do. They say something completely incorrect, thinking they are correct, and then just carrying on. And that's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah, because you can also... sorry, Heinrich. You can also, I think, regardless of how intelligent you are or are not, you can misremember things as well.
Yeah.
Like a statistic that or a figure that you've used in 100 different conversations, for whatever reason, on any given day, you could say, let's say the real figure was 1.3 billion. You could say it was 1.2 billion or 1.4. You know, because
1.3
you
million.
yeah, you know, but that can be
People just misspeak as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some people call their own children by the wrong name sometimes.
Yeah, I did it in in last night's video. I was saying billion. I was talking about a galaxy being 50 million light years away, but I said billionth, but I corrected myself
Yeah.
as I was saying it. I thought it was funny to leave the mess up in. So it's very easy to misspeak, regardless of how well educated you are.
And
I think.
especially with today, with social media, there's a lot of false information that if you just scroll through like Instagram Reels or something, there might be a false statistic. Now it gets lodged into some of your real statistics, and you don't
Yeah,
remember where you heard this or if it was something that you read that was factual.
yeah,
And you can mention that, and it's just somebody made it up.
yeah, yeah. I know, but I'm sure that a lot of flat earthers sort of have got so CC was interesting. Again, this was in last night's video because he was one of his silly claims was that the speed of light can't be measured. It's impossible to measure the speed of light. But then the next sentence out of his mouth told them basically told you exactly what the speed of light was. And he was correct. So he knows. He's just choosing to call it BS, which is really all CC ever does, isn't it? He never, you know, he doesn't debunk anything. He
It just
literally
speaks.
just speaks. You know, he's basically using YouTube as a
Virtual diary.
journal.
Yeah.
You know, a dear diary kind of situation.
Yeah, that's
Because
why it says the date every time.
yeah. You might be right. Oh, either that or he's a huge Star Trek fan.
Captain's log.
I don't know. It's I love and hate flat earthers in equal measure. I literally couldn't live with one, but I can't live without
Live
them either
without them.
because it's become one of the sort of staples of my channel.
Yeah.
But
My only question is, when are you doing a sovereign citizen video again?
yeah, I haven't done one for
We were talking about
ages.
this the other day.
Yeah, we were speaking about different sort of options and trying different things on the channel, and the sovereign citizen videos are weird. Sometimes they go really well, and other times people just get really upset. How dare I have an opinion about an American?
Uh,
And the funny thing is everybody in the world has got an opinion about an American at the moment.
Yeah.
at least one of them.
It's bizarre. So funny enough, you mentioned F1 earlier. I was going to ask you about that because I remember, you know, seeing the posters on the wall in the videos, and I was going to, because my sister-in-law is a huge Formula One fan. But have you been into that since you were a child, or?
So I grew up with Formula One in the house and cars, and so I grew up petrol head. And then
Right.
when I was very young, I had the privilege of seeing Michael Schumacher in South Africa doing a test at one of the local racetracks, and that really hooked me on Formula One. And then just about when I started, he sort of left, and then I became a McLaren fan because that's where Michael was last. I became a McLaren fan because that was my father was, and then Mercedes came into the mix, and then Michael went to Mercedes, but at McLaren, then I started to become a Lewis Hamilton fan.
Yeah.
And then when Lewis moved over to Mercedes, it was like a dream pairing for me because it's Lewis and it's Mercedes. And since he left Mercedes now to Ferrari, I have to trade in my Mercedes for a Ferrari.
Oh, you will literally upgrade
Yeah,
your
so I already have the little Lego one. But I have to
right.
come up with where my Mercedes Lego is now. But yeah.
Yeah. It's I'm weird. If I turned up at a Formula One track, I dare say I would enjoy watching it and it would be very cool, but I don't know, it's just another one of those things that I just find really boring to watch on TV. And I know
Yeah.
I've said that to my sister-in-law, and she's like, "No, it's not boring. It's very exciting." But it's like, yeah, but you know, I like cars as much as the next guy likes cars, but I don't like them enough to, watch them drive round and round a circuit for like 5 hours or however. I don't even know how long a Formula One race is, but it's more than 5 laps, isn't it? So
Yeah,
I don't
so
know.
I do think not a lot of people can watch it on the TV. So my wife didn't like Formula One. She does now. She likes to nap in Formula One on a Sunday while I watch it. Yeah, so that's. But my biggest dream, since there isn't Formula One in South Africa and it's completely too expensive to go anywhere else in the world, is to go and watch a Formula One. So I haven't seen a live race at
I
all
was going
ever.
to ask you, had you actually been and seen it
No,
in the
I
flesh
haven't had the
yourself?
privilege, but our new Minister of Art, Culture, and Tourism, and I'm not sure what he does.
Yeah.
They are petitioning for Formula One in South Africa. So there are a few. So we do have Formula E down in Cape Town around
Right.
the rugby stadium.
Yeah.
But so the city of Cape Town is petitioning to have it on that track. But then we do have a certified like GT3 and endurance track in Joburg, which is closer to me at this stage, which
I think
usually hosts.
actually one of the channels I watch, Matt Armstrong, I'm sure he's just been out onto the circuit, the Joburg circuit.
Kyalami or Swartkops.
Oh, I'd have to go back to the video and have a look at it.
Yeah, but the
I watched
Kyalami
it
is
weeks ago.
the big one, and they host the Kyalami 9 hour every year, and the
Right,
Festival of Speed. So
right.
those I've seen stuff like that, but I haven't had the privilege of Formula One.
Yeah, yeah. I bet it's very exciting to see it, just because
Imagine the noise.
yeah, that's what I was got the sound when they pass the camera, and it sounds like an insect. It doesn't even sound like a car anymore because the engine is revving so incredibly high.
Yeah, and the Doppler effect also doesn't help.
But so explain that to me?
So the Doppler effect is when something approaches you, the frequency of the sound that it emits is increased. So as something approaches you, the faster and faster it approaches, the higher and higher the frequency you hear.
Right.
So it's that like meow,
Yeah.
that type of effect. And then a lot of people won't like this, but that's also how to prove that the universe is expanding and is in fact a universe and not a globe, like a snow globe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I'll have to do a bit more reading. Like
Yeah.
I
It's the
knew
red
it.
light shift of stars moving away from us that can show that they indeed are moving away from us.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was watching something from Brian Cox earlier, and he was talking about so the example he used, and again I'm paraphrasing, old man memory. Universe is 13.8 billion years old, but there's light that's taken 50 billion years to reach us. How can that be possible? Well, it's because the universe is expanding.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
So there are stars further away from us, light years speaking, and
Yeah.
the universe is old, but we see them. And that reason is because of the universe expanding at the speed of light.
yeah,
And I think it was also Brian Cox or Neil deGrasse Tyson that used the analogy of an ant on a piece of elastic. So if you take the piece of elastic and you make two marks and you put an ant on it, and the speed that the ant walks, you move that elastic at the same speed, pull it apart.
yeah,
Then that ant will never reach that other point,
yeah,
which is why we will never reach certain star systems out there, because we
yeah, yeah.
cannot travel in the faster than the
Yeah.
speed of light.
So let's stay in space. So I think that there has to be intelligent life out there somewhere apart from us. Do I think we've had any interactions with them? Absolutely not, because there is zero scientific evidence to support that. What's your thoughts on whether
Also,
we are or aren't alone?
the chances of us being the only planet to have formed life is also, I don't think we're the only ones. again, I don't think there's people that's been abducted by aliens. I don't think there is extraterrestrial life that is capable of interstellar travel. Because why would we have not seen them yet?
Yeah, yeah. So
So
I want to talk about not today because it's too big a topic, but the Fermi paradox. Because isn't that kind of what that's trying to explain? It's trying to explain
yes,
why we haven't, why ET hasn't,
phone
been in a
home.
video with me. Why he hasn't popped round for coffee on a Saturday
Yeah.
morning. So what would let's say then, okay, there's another almost a mirror image of Earth, but it's 30 million light years away. What, given what we, and again, if you don't know the answer to this, I wouldn't be as surprised as I'm going to be if you do know the answer. But what law of physics would those people have to overcome to actually be capable of coming to visit Earth?
So how far did you say they were?
Say 30 million light years away.
Yeah. So
Make
if
it
they
easy
are,
for them.
yeah. So if they are closer, then the universe is old. So if they are closer than 13 billion light years, then they should just be able to reach relativistic speeds. So speeds close to the speed of light, because when you can travel at close to the speed of light, the distances you cover become minuscule. Yes,
Right.
it would still feel for us. So for them, it would take a second or 2 seconds, whatever the speed is that they travel at. But from the moment, let's say, we know exactly the time that they leave, from that moment till the time they arrive at us would take 50 million years.
Yeah.
That's the problem with interstellar travel.
Yeah.
It's not that
Time.
it's impossible, it's time.
Yeah.
So if I can travel at relativistic speeds, I can be there in the blink of an eye. But the place that I get to versus the place that I think I was going to is not going to be the same place.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you're traveling over those distances, and again, I'm not sure if I've understood what I've read properly, but aren't you also, the time behaves differently?
Yes, yeah. So you've got your own clock that's ticking at 1 second per second,
Yeah.
which then it feels for you it took 2 seconds to get there. But for the other people, the 2 seconds that your clock ticked took 50 million years.
Yeah.
That is what the time dilation is. So that
Right.
is, and again, it's something we see every day. So the GPS
Yeah.
satellites that orbit Earth have to correct their own clock daily because
Right.
their clock, I think, ticks faster than our clock.
So when you say relativistic speeds, do you mean relative to the speed that the universe is expanding, or?
So relativistic speeds means in the order of close to the speed of light. So like
Right.
0.8 the speed of light, stuff like
Right.
that. So
I've got
that's
you.
relativistic speeds, yeah.
Right, right. So just a smidge under the speed of light. Because,
Yes.
we've all seen Star Wars, Star Trek, pick a sci-fi movie where they hit the hyperdrive and, they've traveled 300
Yeah.
trillion kilometers. And, I think that those are the reasons why we've never met anybody. From,
Yeah.
from
Sorry, as a film, Interstellar is very good at showing
Yes.
relativity. That I can't remember the name of the planet, but when they go down onto the planet and they're down there 20 minutes and they come back up and it's been 25 years or back on Earth or
Yes.
whatever it is. But yeah, I've recommended that film to you lots of times and you should definitely watch it.
Yeah, maybe I will. So
Very good.
you're kind of in the same camp as me then. You think there probably is somebody
Yeah.
out there, but we've had no interaction with
The,
them. They may not even know we exist, because somebody left a comment earlier, I think it was Steve's Creepy Van, and what it made me think of is Earth is a single grain of sand. Dump it somewhere in the middle of the Sahara Desert, but let the Sahara Desert be the last place you're allowed to search. First, you've got to search all the other sandy areas on Earth, every beach, every grain of sand. So the odds of finding the Earth They're pretty slim. It's like
Yeah.
the ultimate needle in a haystack or the ultimate
Yeah.
Where's Wally. You're never going to find. So that could be applied to us. Maybe they just haven't found us.
They could be looking the same way we are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the thing is, I don't think we will ever meet extraterrestrial life. Especially, so there might come a time where engineering catches up, because most of the stuff in physics is possible. It's no longer a problem of science; it's a problem of engineering.
Yeah.
So the thing is, even if they travel at the speed of light, it will still take 50 million years in our time frame for them to get here. So
Yeah.
that's the problem. So if they set off at this moment, at the speed of light, they will get to us in 50 million years.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only thing that will solve this problem is generated wormholes. So like Portal 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the only
Yeah.
thing. And again, it's something that's mathematically possible, but becomes a problem of engineering.
Right. I know we didn't ask for them, but I do love a quick Q&A session. So somebody is asking in the side chat, will it ever be practical to travel forward in time by reaching relativistic speeds? I was going to ask about your thoughts on time travel.
So the thing with, so the people in the space station do it on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
I think every 6 months they get back, they've traveled in time like 2 minutes ahead, something
Yeah.
like that. So it's small time frames, but it's still something that has happened.
Yeah.
Now the
Yeah.
thing that is, I can travel at the speed of light to the sun and back, and I would have traveled 18 minutes or 16 minutes into the future, basically.
Right.
But how will that help me? Because now I can't go back 18 minutes into the or 16 minutes into the past and say, listen, this is what's going to happen in 16 minutes. Because if I travel back to the sun and back to the earth, I'm going to be 16 minutes ahead in time again. It's not
Mm.
going to be 60 minutes back. So that's the thing about time travel at relativistic speeds. We don't have a way of getting back. There is no. So yes, we can travel. If we can travel at relativistic speeds, we can travel to the future. But that's about it. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. So you might travel 1 billion light years away and back. Now the Earth has aged 2 billion years. The sun has exploded. The Earth is no longer. There's nobody on Earth, and you are the last person. Because you
Yeah.
can never know what will happen in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will only
But-
start to be practical if we can get a way back.
Yeah. Yeah. But my so I understand what you were saying about the crew on the ISS. I've read that, you know, that the speed they're traveling and the height and the, you know, the time passes differently. But what I can't wrap my brain around is how you could travel ahead in time, because it hasn't happened yet.
So think of it as they are traveling faster than we are, so they see us in slow motion, if I can, or we see them in slow motion. I can't remember which way around it is.
Right.
So how it works is, if let's say so it's easier to work at large distances because then it's larger time frames. So if I travel from Earth 1 billion light years at the speed of light, it will take me 0 seconds to get there because it's at the speed of light. So my distance decreased to 0. Now I am there. Now that I am there, I see what the Earth looked like the moment I left. Because it took me a second to get there, but the light traveling there took 1 billion. Oh, I see the Earth 1 billion years back, but the light traveling there took 1 billion years.
Mm-hmm.
And now I travel back. Now I'm back on Earth, but I didn't see the future or anything that happened in between because the light hasn't reached the planet that I'm at. But now I'm back at Earth, and now I actually see what happened. So you don't see the technicality in between. You see as light reaches you, and light can't reach you faster than light.
No.
It's this. I saw. I can't remember where I heard this. It might have been Brian Cox. And the thing about two twins, and if
The
you
twin
sent
paradox.
one twin up into space, you know, it's essentially what you just said.
Yes.
You shot one twin out and then brought it back. They'd still be twins. but one would be like X amount of years older and the other one would still be a baby.
Yeah, so that was part of one of the courses I took was modern physics, which deals with time dilation and length contraction and stuff like that. So the twin paradox was one of my exam questions. I remember it very clearly. Yeah, so what happens is when the one twin leaves at the speed of light and gets to the planet and orbits the planet, now that twin, it took a second or less than a second for that twin to get there. The other one is on Earth, but the time that passed for the one on Earth is the time that it took light to reach the other planet. So if it's a million light years away, it took a million years. If it's 40 light years away, it took 40 years for that twin to see his brother actually get there. And then the brother has to turn around and come back. So it's going to take another 40 years or 20 years, however far the planet is. So the twin that stays on Earth in its own inert reference frame, that twin is the twin that ages. The other twin that leaves the planet in a new reference frame, orbits a planet in another reference frame, and comes back in a new reference frame, that's the one that does not age because of him traveling at the speeds of light.
So with that in mind, you know, you were saying about extraterrestrial life on other planets. So is it possible that we are looking at planets that technically today hold intelligent life, but we are seeing them as it was before that intelligent life arrived?
Yes.
We might be looking in the right places, just at the wrong time.
Yeah, so that is actually what astrobiologists are looking at this stage. So looking at the compounds and the chemistry that is needed for life to start. Because we know what we need, basically what we need to stay alive here. So if we can find those things on a planet that needs to still start, we can see that life evolve and form and get to the point where they are intelligent. Yes, they might already have evolved to the point where they are intelligent enough to go to their closest moon. But we can't see that because they are X amount of light years away. If a planet is 20 light years away, if we look at it now, that is what it looked like 20 years ago to the date, basically. So if someone in, so we are in 2025 now. So if somebody on a planet 24 light years away looks at New York now on their planet, they will still see the World Trade Center standing.
Yeah, it's crazy that
You just did a science as well, Cal.
I did a science.
Yeah.
I do a science.
Because I didn't even understand your question for Heinrich, let alone the explanation.
I'm smart.
You are, well done, boy. Is there any, I want you to let everybody know where they can find your content. I know the channel's linked below if you just like to chill yourself briefly, and then we'll get rid of this rabble watching us. So, Carl, give him the full screen.
There we go. Take it away.
Thanks, Creaky. Thanks, Cal. Yes, so as always, I'm Heinrich, the real nuclear physicist. You can find me on YouTube as the real nuclear physicist without the and one word. So real nuclear physicist, one word. I am on Instagram as well as TikTok, real nuclear physicist. You can find me there. Some of my shorts that come from YouTube make it to those platforms. Other than that, thanks for having me, Creaky.
No, it's been my pleasure, mate. Honestly, I've been watching your videos for months and months and months. I don't know what it is. Your delivery, it just feels more authoritative, and it feels like the flat earthers must be sitting there. Why doesn't this guy just go away? He knows every single nuance of why we're wrong. Who the hell needs a nuclear physicist debunking flat earth? Because flat earth certainly doesn't need or want it.
It's very OP.
I must say, thank you for that video that you sent me of Peter and Pete. Yo, I had a ball with that. Yes, I had a ball with that.
Dumb and Dumber of flat earth.
Yes, I had fun with that. Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun, and I'm gonna have a look at some more of their for their content.
The
because
reason I
they-
don't make that much content about them is because they only really live stream, so their videos are always like an hour
Very
and
long.
30 minutes plus. But the way I make my content, I just haven't got the time to sit through.
Yeah.
And I know I miss out on certain brilliant flat Earth arguments, but so be it. So
Same with me, because I do this part time, so I also don't have the time to watch 3 hours of videos every day.
that's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing. How much time do you dedicate to it while it's still a hobby? It's a little bit different for me now because this is, it's my business. It's what I do for a living. But yeah, it's it is very time consuming. But thank you very much indeed for coming on and educating us all, because you most definitely
Thanks for
have. And like I
having me.
say, I was interested in the perspective of a smart guy when it comes to hearing the absolute tosh flat earthers say. So thank you, pal. Thank you to everybody that's watched. Thank you to everybody that's super chatted. Thank you to Rolf from the beginning of the stream for gifting 5 memberships. But on that note, I'm out here. See you tomorrow night. Love you. Bye.
Thank you all for watching Creaky Live. Don't forget to follow me on all of your social media platforms. Have a good day and have a creaky week.